Alright, hello everyone. This is Zwade, about to commentate on the match H29, H24 in Division H24 for Dominion League between Norbo and cfred. Norbo is a level 46.41 Dominion rating, cfred's 47.58 with over 1100 games, Norbo with 409. But despite the experience, it hasn't been going super well for cfred, who is 9-15. While Norbo sits at 10-13. So cfred needs to win these games to avoid relegation to the I division. All right, so let's look at this kingdom. So we've got barons for plus buy. We've got knights, which are never particularly fun, can really slow the game down. We've got a village and native village, which isn't the best village out here. Replace is basically a remodel, so that's an interesting way to get gains. We've got banquet, which at the cost of making your deck worse can get you a 5 cost of a non-victory card for 3. And we've got boons from the pouches. All right. So, let me make sure I'm recording. Yep, okay. All right, so let's see. On this board, there's nothing that costs 3. There's only one thing that costs 4. And there's not trashing much except for trading post and replace. Pseudo trashing with native village. Native village might not be a bad investment, but with there being no 3, it's tempting to do banquet because that is efficient and you do get a good 5 card. But with trashing coppers is going to be fairly difficult. So I'm not sure that that's the best way you want to go. And so indeed, Norbo here plays his 3 and gets a copper. cfred has it where I can't see their cards, so I'm not going to know what they have. I will ask them to change that in between games. But he goes ahead and plays his 4 cards and buys a Baron. It's the only 4 cost card available, so it's attractive. Definitely discourages buying a replace to replacing those estates. But both the players might be thinking this is more just a big money situation here, and cfred has 3 again and buys a silver. Here Norbo has 4. 4's okay. Decides to take the native village. I'm okay with the native village here. There could be some native village swashbuckler, which is basically a smithy. Get a good draw engine here. The golds are going to help. It doesn't look like either is particularly interested in trading post or particularly interested in replace at this point, which is okay. That makes sound logical sense. cfred had 4 with 2 buys and bought a native village. Norbo had 4 and bought a silver. Here cfred had a collision between his barons and estates, which is very good. Looks like he has 2 estates in there. Now he does buy a trading post here. I like it. I think that it's okay on this board, and he gets another native village. So he might be trying to use native village for pseudo draw. And how that works is you have more than one in hand. You set aside 1, and then you pick it up with the next one that you have. And so in effect, you have drawn a half card between those 2 of them. Each one of them was a half card. So here we have 6 and 3 buys, which is a lot of money. Might be thinking gold here. Could be wanting to break it up. Some draw from swashbuckler doesn't seem terrible. If she's interested, if Norbo here is interested in a 5, goes ahead with the trading post. It's what cfred just bought, so there's I think a little bit of that. So I understand that. Here cfred buys a second baron. Second baron's okay, but it's with no draw being purchased yet. You're not going to get perfect hand of native village, estate, baron often. So the second baron might be a little bit premature, but it could work out eventually if he does decide to invest in some draw at some point. Here he has 3 after setting aside a card with Native Village. Yeah, and unfortunately I can only see that his Native Village mat is face down. So I've just messaged him about that. Hopefully we can get that taken care of. Alright, so here cfred chooses to invest in Banquet. Banquet gains 2 coppers for a 5 cost card and gets in replace. Given how much cfred is invested in native villages, it does seem useful to buy a swashbuckler, get those draws, so he's seeing it, but a replace is a good card. I like the replace. Here Norbo has a good collision, so it's going to have 7 next turn and 2 buys. Set aside another card with Native Village. They've got 2 on the mat, but there you go. That's the pseudo draw because he had 2 Native Villages in hand, so he set aside 1, grabbed another. He decides to use a Baron to take a card with an estate, which makes sense to me. Trashes 2 coppers to gain a silver, which makes sense to me. And now he has 3. He might be thinking another Native Village. He might be thinking a silver. Tracker's not a terrible card. Oh, okay, so he decides to go with Banquet into replace. Really flooding his deck with coppers with no draw makes it unlikely for him to hit the 2 Barons, which I would like more. I mean, oh, I counted wrong. Baron is +4, not +3, so Norbo hit 8, not 7. My apologies. And here Norbo is the first one to invest in draw. I think draw is going to serve them well. I wouldn't mind seeing Norbo also invest in more native villages, and she did that, or he did that as well on the second buy. cfred had 4 and bought another Baron. That's his 3rd Baron, which I don't mind again, but it's tough when you don't have the draw for it. And here Norbo continues to invest in draw native villages. I like it a lot. This looks like a great hand for this person. Native Village Baron, it had an estate clash, which is good. It gives him 6 and 2 buys and buys out the native villages. So now the amount of actions that each player has is going to be their actions for the rest of the game. Yeah, this is looking good. So that's not bad. That's pretty decent drawing. Doesn't have full deck control yet, but it's decent. Still 3 actions available. There is still a bit more terminal space to add more draw. Yeah, and Norbo will choose to add more draw, which I like. Here cfred has the replaces a copper into an estate. That's okay. The curses are very annoying. He or she is invested in barons significantly, so you're more likely to get a collision. But again, without draw, it's so unlikely that you get 2 good baron collisions with the exact same. So in the exact same hand. Oh, interesting. So here Norbo sacks the Baron and a copper to get with the trading post to get a silver from the hand. And I'm a bit surprised by that move, mostly because Baron is the only source of plus buy aside from the pouch. And with the draw that Norbo was investing in, before too long, Norbo was going to be able to draw his or her deck. And so that would be very strong. So here he actually does have that. That's amazing. At 6 cards, he has 2 barons, 2 estates, and a copper. That's the best that you're ever going to hit. And admittedly, he had to do pseudo draw, but that's okay. Now they're starting to invest in knights. Knights can really throw up the composition of each of these decks. They're not going to be trashing native villages, but they could trash Norbo's swashbucklers that they've invested in, the replaces that cfred is invested in, and the trading posts that they both have invested in. Here Norbo is able to trash an estate and chooses to buy another knight. That's fine. cfred took James Josephine, which is a 2-point knight. It's nothing particularly special. Earlier Dame Sylvia was taken, which is a +2 knight. Dame Natalie is gain a card costing up to 3 knight. None of those are particularly fantastic yet. You would like to have the cantrip knight for sure. Oh, interesting. Here cfred trashes a trading post, turns it into a duchy, which again curses Norbo. Curses are going to hurt. And he might be thinking that his best bet is to go for the piles, which is a very, very fair assessment. Here, Norbo, without being able to get a plus buy unless he or she draws pouch, which is exactly what happens, may have considered playing Dame Sylvia there, potentially harm cfred, and still be able to buy a province, but the swashbuckler worked out. And is going to be able to pseudo draw with native villages again. This is like a half card draw each if you like it. Here, that's exactly what happened here. We had some pseudo draw with the native village and 3 coppers. Plays a banquet, gets a Dame Natalie. Dame Molly is the village knight. I really don't see the use for that for cfred, but it would help with Norbo's swashbucklers. Although it doesn't look like knights have been played yet. That's okay. We might see a knight play here. And we do. The knights, not particularly friendly, but not particularly unfriendly either. Here, Norbo has enough for a province, will use a coffer, and does buy a province. Now, with the points lead back, even despite all the curses, duchies, and estates, cfred plays a native village again, has a barren collision, also replaces a copper into an estate, takes the point lead back with that, has 3. 3 is not great. Could be an estate, a tracker, or a silver, or could be another banquet. And it is another banquet to get Dame Molly. Again, I don't really love it because of the lack of draw that cfred has, but we'll see how it turns out. Sir Bailey is the cantrip knight, I believe, yep. Here, Norbo chooses to draw 3, which is good. It gets them a coffer. I like it better than trading posts for getting rid of an estate. Kind of, because cfred has been putting pressure on piles. But here with just 2, I would probably not buy anything. It doesn't feel great, but that's Norbo goes ahead and buys an estate. That's understandable. Here I would expect Norbo to strongly consider playing the swashbuckler, because they have 5 and 2 coffers make 7 if they draw any money, which they may know if they're keeping track of the deck. If they have money, if they draw any of it, they will get to another province, which seems really important because cfred is really hammering those replace attacks. And here they do indeed, they draw another silver, so they're going to be able to buy another province. Keeping the points race really, really close. This is a very close game. And here cfred, with so many estates, has a really great opportunity, is very likely to collide, is going to buy a duchy and an estate to take back the points lead. Piles are incredibly low, but without the significant plus buys, we've still got at least 3 or 4 more rounds of this, 6 or so more turns, I would suspect. Because I doubt either player is going to specifically target barons. It's possible that players will specifically target knights. However, if you're Norbo, you're less interested in doing that because you'd rather your deck hit province. And your deck you probably like better than your opponent's deck, cfred's. I know I do. However, if the game ends quickly or if cfred is able to turn those knights into duchies, it could get a bit rough. Okay, so interesting. So Norbo's goes for a banquet trading post. Would have strongly considered a banquet estate replace here to play the same game that cfred is. Try to get those duchies. Here, what was that played? Plays Dame Natalie. Dame Natalie revealed Dame Sylvia, and both of them trashed. And nothing was able to be bought. Norbo puts some money in their hands, has multiple actions. This is going to be potentially a good draw for Norbo. It's going to choose to shuffle here, which I don't mind. This is a lot of junk. Trading post away the well, you better count before trading post away the copper. So 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 might strongly but you get a silver in hand. So yeah, definitely trading post away the copper and curse. Chooses to trading post away the estate and curse. I don't like it personally because it feels like we're in the end game, and and it's a net 0 points that the trading post was able to get by trashing that curse when you also trash an estate. I think they might have strongly considered trashing the copper. They would have had the money to do it because the silver goes to hand. Here, again, we had one Baron Collide. That's enough for a duchy. I would expect to, yep, cfred to take that at face value. Looks like Norbo is going to be able to draw a little bit. Let's see if they have anything set aside. They have a native village set aside and a province. Okay. They choose to blindly set aside here. I don't mind that too much. Here they do trash the 2 coppers, which I don't love. Here I actually would have trashed a copper in an estate, so that way they could have bought a province. So I didn't like trashing the estate last time, and I do like it this time because it was the difference in provinces both times. Here Norba lost to gold, which is going to hurt. That was a very impactful night. Norbo only has 4 in hand, but it looks like cfred's only able to get 4 in hand, and so not sure what they're going to do here. They choose to buy Salty Earth, which gives them a victory point, and trashes probably a province. Yep. Here, cfred can use a copper to get a duchy, which I imagine they will. And we'll have a little bit of draw for the next turn, although it might be tough to get up to duchy. We've got some pseudo drawing with the native villages. Seems to be hitting pretty consistently. Well, I mean, since cfred invested in so many native villages, again, I really would love some draw for cfred. They've invested well in building in building the engine pieces, but not enough in the draw, which is the glue that keeps it brings an engine together. Yep, that's going to be enough for another duchy. At this point, the game looks to be in hand for Norbo. However, this is not a good draw, but I just don't see how cfred is going to be able to hit province or the next 3 duchies, and even the next 3 duchies are not enough points. So this one seems to be in hand for, or not in hand, pardon me, but seems to be a pretty clear victory for Norbo, who I'd expect to pass here, and they do. Looks like they're definitely going to be able to buy a duchy. They likely will be able to buy a province in the next turn. Another knight was played, trashed a silver. A baron surprisingly did not get an estate hit, it looks like, which is... oh, no, it did get an estate hit. Okay. So, again, cfred has to hit 8, but with no draw, you have to have, a total card value of, 8 over 5, which is pretty tough with a deck that has no golds and no draw, because, again, you only have the 5 cards. Nothing really looks appetizing for cfred. There is technically a way to win if he could buy 2 provinces. Chooses to buy a knight. It's a little bit kind of delaying the inevitable here. Here Norbo has a duchy in hand, which is good enough. Now just needs 3 money to be able to end the game. Doesn't have it in hand. Let's see what cfred does. Actually, Norbo does have it in hand by trading post the 2 native villages into a silver. Oh wait, sorry, needs, yes, 3 money because of the 2 coffers. But we'll see if Norbo sees the game end. cfred had a mega turn with his native villages, added 7 cards to their hand. That's good. Might be wanting to, definitely, are going to potentially, the best case scenario is that they can double buy province. Unfortunately, that still puts them at 34. It's still really tough. I hadn't noticed that. It's a little bit hard to see their hand that they have set aside so much. But even with a potential mega turn here of a couple barons colliding with a couple of states, it doesn't look particularly likely for cfred, but we'll see what he is able to do, or she. Oh yeah, I forgot about replace. Yeah, there definitely was a way to maximize. Well, no, there wasn't. Yeah, so Norbo does not see the win in hand, but is able to pseudo draw a copper. Still does not see the win in hand, trading post Survander and copper. So looks like they are not going to win this turn, but hopefully they see that. Oh, but they trashed the duchy, and that's enough points. So eventually they got there. Yes. Okay. Great. Great. Excellent. So first game of the match goes to Norbo. I actually like what cfred did and how they built slightly more than Norbo, except for the fact that Norbo invested in draw and cfred did not invest in draw. And I think that was the real difference here. Um, so, but well done by Norbo. I really like cfred's use of replaces. I think that replaces were fairly strong. I think I think that they were really useful on the board with limited gains. Um, but unfortunately, yeah, just the lack of draw really hurt. And I guess they had a 5-5 split on um, uh, they had a 5-5 split on native villages. I thought that cfred ended up with more, but and the use of banquet so liberally probably didn't help too much, particularly just to pick up knights. The knights themselves didn't seem particularly impactful for either player. Um, all right, so let's go into game two. All right, game two is a donate game. This could be quick, could be really long, depending on how the players handle it. We've also got Fairgrounds as alternate VP for multiple different names. Doesn't look like there's too much that gives you too many differently named cards. No, no knights, no ruins. Both of those give a lot of extra cards. So let's see. We've got incredible drawing with Royal Blacksmith. Decent trashing with amulets, probably good. Masquerade is also good trashing. Hermit's okay trashing. Masquerade's probably really good here. There are no plus actions, however. Prince is a really strong card to set aside, particularly cantrips, to give you a second action per turn. Unfortunately, there's no cantrips there either. So this looks to me like a big money deck that you want to get thin with donate and then maybe invest in a Royal Blacksmith and just draw a ton. I don't love the amulet here. I don't love the decent trashing because of donate. Well, actually, I don't mind the amulet because it does give a silver. So let's see. cfred, Norbo had 4 and opened with a cardinal. I don't mind that. cfred had 3 and opened with an amulet. I do like that because, again, it can gain silvers. 2 silvers, 1 every other turn. Yeah, Norbo here has 3. It's probably considering there's a lot of particularly attractive 3s. Silver is kind of one of them. It's just okay. cfred follows up with his own cardinal and has changed their settings, which is great. Okay, Norbo here has 6 and goes for a gold. I like that. I really think they need to donate soon. With the cardinal, gold, silver, they have 7. They could buy a second gold, and they're going to be sitting fairly pretty. Yeah, that was a very friendly cardinal. Not that it particularly matters if Norbo here ends up donating. 5 is a bit unfortunate. I'm sure they would have preferred to hit I'm sure they would have preferred to hit 6. They had a collision with the amulet. They went ahead and bought a livery. That's okay. It's okay, but I think donate here is very, very attractive. And when you donate, you don't want to have, multiple colliding actions. So this really does feel like a one action ton of money board. Here, I would hope that Norbo donates, but it says buys a prince. I'm wondering what they're considering setting aside. I'm assuming they have to consider setting aside a prince. I'm very surprised by that. I'm very, very surprised. But here we got our first donation. cfred is looking at their entire deck. Again, if they trash all the coppers and estates, they're only going to be able to play one of these per turn, with Amulet as a duration. So it feels like you want to trash one of them too. If you trash the 7 coppers and 3 estates and leave yourself with a livery, you don't have enough to buy a gold. Yeah, so they trashed everything but these 3 actions, but they don't have extra actions. We got our second donate. Here, I would expect Norbo to trash the 7 coppers and 3 estates, set aside the cardinal with the prince, and just play livery every turn. I really like how Norbo set this up, I'll be completely honest. I like it a bit better. Now, it's possible that cfred is anticipating doing the same thing soon enough, but Norbo has it already. If they do that, they might could decide to do something different, but no, that's exactly what they do. They trash all of their coppers and estates. They'll be left with 5 next turn, and I would expect them to maybe buy a silver or I don't know, if anything, I'll be honest. So here cfred does have an amulet in play. He or she is probably realizing the kind of lack of money. Decides to play a cardinal. It's just a +2, and it doesn't actually do the attack. So that feels like just strictly a misplay, because livery is +3. Neither of them affect the other player. This one reveals the top 2 cards of the deck, but Norbo does not have one. So livery is strictly just more money, and will be able to pay off the entire debt instead of that. So if cfred sees this, might consider that and why you would need to play livery there. Was able to set aside the cardinal with prince. He or she has realized that as well. I had to pay off the debt, so only 2 this turn. I would expect Norbo to not buy anything, but is in a fantastic position for the rest of the game. And did not buy anything. Could have considered a royal blacksmith, I suppose. No, it's not worth it. Yep. It's just not worth it. So here cfred plays the amulet. I'm not entirely sure what for. Decides to trash a copper. Okay. The cardinal gets played. There's no deck on either of them, so it's just basically set aside a silver. But hey, start with 2. It's the key on steroids. This has got to be a province. I think Norbo basically has this lined up. I'd be very surprised if it was not a province here. Norbo buys a prince. Oh! No. So prince setting aside a horse does not actually work, because if you set it aside, at the start of your turn you play it, and then you do it, only setting it aside again when you discard it from play. The horse says when you play it, return it to its pile. So if Norbo attempts to set aside a horse with the prince here, they are going to be very disappointed. Now they might not be considering that. They might be considering buying a cardinal here, but they might be disappointed. The masquerade draw is pretty interesting, because it will really mess with Norbo. But here Norbo was able to exile a cardinal. cfred chose to exile a cardinal. Norbo buys another prince. I'm not entirely sure why. To me, it feels like Norbo has this in the bag, but these masquerades are going to be interesting. Yeah, this is one way to thin out the massive collisions that cfred is facing. I don't believe the prince works with durations either. Yep, I don't believe it works with that either. Norbo plays a horse to draw the last prince, but again, there's nothing to prince. So, okay, yeah, they choose to buy a cardinal, which makes sense. Two of their princes are down here. They're probably going to prince a cardinal. They could get it to where they have 8 starting off every single turn, and then it doesn't matter what happens to their deck. Here I'd expect them to pass back an amulet back and forth, and they do. cfred can choose to trash if you would like. Trash is an amulet. Just has no economy. And I'm not sure what cfred's plan is to gain economy, but definitely feels languishing. Like he's languishing a little bit. And Norbo, however, is doing really well, and probably this is turn 10, but could have started buying provinces like 3 or 4 turns ago. cfred's kind of in a helpless position here. It does feel a little bit like this is overkill from Norbo, but it's going to guarantee a win. Sets aside a cardinal here. And buys another cardinal to set aside with prince. And after that, I have to imagine that Norbo will be ready to province again. Yeah, cfred's not in a good position here at all. Is getting a maximum of 2 economy. It's not looking good for cfred. Cardinal gets played. Prince cardinal gets played. 7. Could buy another gold here. And does. Yep, it's just a little insurance. And here I would expect a livery and 2 golds to buy a province from Norbo. cfred, on the other hand, has 6 and can play livery for 9 and might consider buying a province here. Chooses to buy a prince. Yeah, I mean, I understand. It's just a little bit too late, depending on if Norbo decides to act. Yeah. And does buy their first province. Should be able to do that for the next 8 turns if they wanted, given that they will continually add horses. The Madman is good because it is a village for cfred, so he'll get to play his cardinal and livery, or prince a... what did they prince away? Oh no, they set aside a horse with prince. I'm afraid they're going to be very disappointed by that, because again, the horse goes back to the pile. To my understanding, I certainly hope for their sake that it is not the case. Cardinal is able to exile a gold. That's not too impactful for Norbo. Can continue their plan of buying a province every single turn. Oh man, I feel really bad for cfred. If my interpretation of the rules is correct, and I could be wrong. I am a fallible person. But they buy a silver, they get to 3 back out of exile, which is good because those cardinals keep throwing them in exile. Yep, they do buy a province. Yeah, so there it is. cfred plays a horse, returns a horse to the horse pile, and that prince is worthless now. Has enough to buy a province that will just speed up the game. It is a hopeless position for... Wow, this sounds dark. It's not a hopeless position. But it looks really tough for... no, it's a hopeless position. They're going to be able to buy this province. They may have noticed that they were not able to play their horse. Norbo is... I don't believe has exiled all their golds and livery, so is guaranteed to buy another province here. cfred is able to exile a horse, which doesn't hurt, buys the penultimate province, but it doesn't really matter. Norbo is going to play the 3 cardinals. The client's lagging a little bit, plays the livery, buys the last province, and the game is over. Second game to Norbo. Yeah, the donate prince thing that set up, I didn't see it at the beginning. I really respect Norbo's play there. Thought it was really good. Just a little bit overkill when there's there's no plus buys. But a win is a win, and that was well played. cfred just got hurt with the donate turn with too many actions. It's hard. Donate is a really hard event to understand. No, but get used to it. All right, so let's look at this kingdom. We've got villages in the terms of mountain village. We've got, and potentially heralds. Oh, we've got a black market game. This could get crazy, folks. We've got a way of the mouse, and I can't see what the way of the mouse is from that. 1 second. The way of the mouse is a harbinger, which is a cantrip, so you can turn any action into a harbinger. We've got pixie for trashing with goats. And Norbo is able to trash an estate. Got a good draw off that. And buys a groom. This could be a groom game. Interesting. Let me check the chat. Yes, it looks like Norbo's gone the last 3, so cfred will need to go first the last 3. Oh, I wasn't reading the last chat. But yep, point still remains. Alright, so we had a groom opening, we had an inventor opening from cfred. Inventor is cost reduction, I like it. Swashbuckler is drawing. There's so many things you can do here. This is going to be an interesting board to see how they play it. Sage is able to find the groom. The groom is able to get a mountain village. I do like the groom on this board. Basically anything is takeable. Especially grooms with inventors to do cost reduction, to reduce, the swashbuckler. Alright, so the black market has revealed a bustling village, a wild hunt, which is basically just draw. Yeah. None of these are particularly great. I mean, there is a good enough village with mountain village. I would probably pass here. But you could consider they do pass on the black market offering. The black market offering is interesting because there's so many good things on this board. Like, you could get potentially a mega turn with inventors reducing stuff to where you're grooming provinces. There's enough draw to support it. You can get just a straight up groom rush. There's so much going on here. So here Norbo invests in draw, which is good. I like the Sage in general. It's too bad it doesn't pull. It's too bad it doesn't pull the goat, which only costs 2, but that's okay. It pulls grooms, which are very, very good. It will be a little bit interesting if they do decide to go the cost reduction route. Yep, they put the mountain village looks at their discard and puts 1 in their hand, which is how Norbo was able to get the swashbuckler. Now triggering the shuffle here, you kind of have to because you really want the groom, and the swashbuckler kind of minimizes the impact. But those last 2 cards are just coppers and a goat, which isn't fantastic. It would have been nice to draw the goat. But here they have 5. They use their groom to gain a mountain village. They use their 5 coppers to gain a swashbuckler. I like it. They're building a big engine. But some of the things that you can't forget in big engines are, what are my plus buys? And there isn't any plus buys. So if you want to get multiple, green in a turn, you're going to need these inventors. And so we'll try to chain these inventors in play. So we'll see which, if either player targets that, or if they decide to add monument payload, or if they decide to add gold payload, what they decide to do. But here, these engine pieces are very good and very competitive. I actually like Norbo's decision to pass up the black market. They buy a monastery for a little bit of extra trashing. I don't mind that, but probably I would expect the goat to eat the monastery at some point. The inventor gains Mountain Village. The swashbuckler continues drawing. Mountain Village, you can Mountain Village, I suppose. You can Mountain Village a goat, which I would highly recommend. Oh, okay, Sage. I don't believe Sage is going to... Oh, it draws the black market. Okay. No, it doesn't draw the black market because it's been cost reduced by Inventor. So Sage doesn't draw. May have strongly considered Mountain Villaging the goat here, so they could have trashed an estate. Unfortunately, the Sage was a 1+1 action do nothing card, which they were probably not intending. Might ask for an undo here, but no, they don't. Yeah, you really shouldn't get an undo, but I mean, it is a silly mistake. But with 4, you're able to buy a swashbuckler or mountain village. Looks like they're just going to race down these mountain villages, which I understand. I would assume that if Norbo gets a groom and enough copper, that they will take the last 2 mountain villages. Groom to mountain village. Now, what they really want to consider doing here is actually grooming the inventor, playing the mountain village to play the inventor, then inventor the mountain village. Yeah, so if they groom the inventor, they could have mountain villaged it from the discard. Then they could play the inventor to gain a mountain village and then buy the last mountain village. So they're up an inventor. But it looks like they've decided that their payload is going to be monuments, which is fair enough. Yeah, that will do. And they're going to have good trashing with the monastery if they like it. And they get to play the monument immediately. They have a little bit of a gain and play turn, which is really good. And they're going to get to trash an estate. It doesn't actually matter for monastery if the coppers are in play or not, because they say, or copper you have in play. So they trash an estate. Oh, and they buy a gold, so they've decided that their gold is monument, or excuse me, their payload is monument and gold. I was able to trash an estate and 2 coppers. This is a good hand from Norbo. Here, these black markets with no discard is just going to keep drawing. Might strongly consider playing that inventor before the mountain village, because again, the card that is gained by the inventor goes into the discard, and so the mountain village gets to pick it up. So had they saved that mountain village, they'd get to draw that inventor immediately. Messenger would be the first plus buy, so they might consider the messenger, but they choose to get the draw in the form of advisor, which I don't hate. It's okay. But again, had they invented an inventor before playing that last mountain village, they'd have been able to gain and play it immediately. One of those things to think about when you have a mountain village is the cards you gain mid-turn, you get to basically put in your hand for free. And usually the cards you gain mid-turn are good cards, so you want to do that. Here Norbo might try to draw on, looks like they will. Hey, they found a sage, found a horse. They can mountain village into a horse, and the other card that they got from Groom, which I missed, was a monument. Nice, see, that's exactly how you do it. That's good stuff there. Here there's no reason to play the swashbuckler. And they might be considering saving those coffers to get at least 4 coffers and take the treasure chest. But it might be hard to get unless they draw the swashbuckler early. if they were counting their deck, they might have known that it was a Swashbuckler on the bottom, and then of course the horse was in the discard pile. And so they might have considered not drawing the Swashbuckler to make sure they draw it next turn. Now, that poses a risk that they might not draw a Mountain Village, but they would guarantee that they get the Swashbuckler early. And it's good draw and potentially enough coffers to get the treasure chest. All right, cfred here plays a Mountain Village, adds a Mountain Village, plays a Mountain Village, adds a Mountain Village. Is going to do that. Do they have any draw to add? They've got the Advisor. They probably, or the Inventor. They could have considered Mountain Village into Inventor. No, they couldn't have. And then gain a Mountain Village. Yeah, that wouldn't have worked. So yeah, they do eventually settle on Inventor. And you can decide that they also want to add Monument Payload. I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit just because your opponent is doing it. I think that if cfred continued on these Inventors, then he could have a mega turn, Inventors and draw. He could have a mega turn where he just piles out all the provinces. Because, yeah. And maybe a Groom. Like, yeah. But anyway, I love Norbo's engine here. It looks really strong and fairly consistent. Again, the Swashbuckler was the bottom card. If they were counting, they might have considered not playing it or playing the Groom earlier so they would be able, well, I guess they are able to draw it with the Swashbuckler anyway. But now they don't have the actions to do it, so yeah, they Groom for an Inventor, which I do like. Here I would expect the goat to eat the Monastery. They choose not to eat the Monastery. I'm not sure why. They don't have any more junk in their deck except for the Monastery. So, but that's one of those things that with a lot of players, and especially myself, it's like I paid money for this. Why would I get rid of it? But at that point, it no longer helps your deck. So that's when you get rid of it. It makes your deck better to not have it. All right, so we got a Pixie. Was not taken. We have Mountain Villages, starting to do Mountain Village things. We've got a Swashbuckler. Might consider playing... okay. Yeah, might consider the Black Market here. None of those look amazing for what you want. They don't look terrible, but they just don't look like you want. I think cfred needs more draw and could use more villages. They've built a really good half of an engine, but there's still the other half there, and they're not thinned very well. So I would hope that the goat eats one of these coppers, and it will. But Norbo is very thin and has lots of draw and villages. cfred is not very thin. I love the Groom here from Norbo over the Inventor. The Groom is playing out really, really well. Those extra draws from the horses are very nice. Here the Inventor is played first, which I like, and gets a Mountain Village, which I like. I'd expect this to be a Sage, but that's Swashbuckler, ensured that they have 3 coffers. Yeah, unfortunately playing the Herald forces the Swashbuckler to not have any cards in the discard pile when it's played. But, it's okay. They get to play on, they get to play their monuments, their payload. It's entirely okay. Here, again, you could Groom first and then pull it back with the Mountain Village. And then they could have played... now they're out of actions, so I guess it wouldn't have mattered. But anyway, there's just minor critiques. Norbo has this game in hand as well. It's essentially over because the only way for cfred to come back is to have a big Inventor mega turn, but they only have 3 Inventors, and they don't have any Grooms, and yeah, it doesn't look good. So here I would hope that they'd play the Advisor first. They're still adding cards from their deck. So, yep, there the Advisor is played. Probably going to deny the draw and Swashbuckler, but with the Mountain Village coming into hand, you can Mountain Village the Swashbuckler, which is pretty handy. Might deny the inventor here from Norbo. Does deny the draw. Again, Mountain Village I expect to be played next, which will pluck that draw right back. Yep. Well, I mean, this card is still there, but there's another one there now. Suspicious. Anyway, so that causes the deck to be reshuffled. Chooses not to take the River's Gift. Sages into a Cardinal, which is good. Has to force a exile of a good card from Norbo. Groom has been very good to them. Monument is their payload. They do choose the exile of the Monument. I understand that. They have more than enough payload to buy out these provinces, and if worse comes to worse, they could buy the Monument back and get it from exile. They inventor the last Mountain Village, which I like, but again, it was cfred. You saw it in the last game, and you're seeing it here. They don't have enough draw, but I like that they just took another Swashbuckler with their second inventor. They get to play the Monument themselves. And this could be a province from them. And it is. So nice. That was a good turn for cfred. Okay. Norbo's back up. Herald into a Sage. That's pretty good. Swashbuckler. Now we want to play that Mountain Village. You get the Groom back. Again, here I'd play the Groom or the Inventor first so you can get these good cards into your deck. But that's okay. Well, and I guess there's no draw or anything. So it's not that big of a deal. Yeah. I mean, did you really want a Monument or a horse? Maybe. But it's okay. They do get the treasure chest, which means I believe it's at the end of the turn they will get a gold. Let's check that. At the start of your buy phase, gain a gold. Nice. So that's why they add a gold right there. They've got so much payload. They've got a great deck. They could, and it's made consistent by these horses, which is from the Groom tech. I think they could have used more Grooms. It's worked out really, really well. Unfortunately, cfred did not hit one of his villages. And it looks like this is going to be a pass turn from them. And it is. That's unfortunate. That's a bit of poor luck. Alright, so village. Play the horse. Play the horse. So that's an interesting thing. If you played the Groom first and you took an action, which I expect them, they could have Mountain Villaged the horse and potentially played on. But anyway. But they chose to gain an estate so they could play on with the Groom, which I like. They end up plays an inventor to get a herald and gets a gold from their treasure chest, buys another province, and the game is well in hand for them. Advisor here I'd expect to deny the Mountain Village. Could deny the Cardinal because it is an attack. There's no world where I expect them to deny the Copper. I think that Monastery was really good from Norbo. That's been a major difference here. cfred getting his wish that the Copper is discarded. Having a little bit of fun. This game is in hand. Or is it out of hand? Those are the real questions that me here at Zwade Commentary will not get to the bottom of. Is able to exile a Mountain Village with the Cardinal. Is able to... Ooh, look, they chained the Inventors. That's good. Yeah. That Inventor chain, if that turns into a Mega Turn, I mean, that wins the game here. That wins the game. But they're able to buy a province, which means Norbo has 6 in hand, but Mountain Village and Swashbuckler looks very likely that they are going to, yep, and with the gold has enough money in hand. And buys the last province. So, that is game 3, I believe, to Norbo. cfred will need to start the last 3 games because Norbo started all these. But I really, again, like the deck that Norbo built there. I think that cfred had a chance. The black market was a little bit of a distraction. The inventors could have been really good, but they need to be followed up on, and then there wasn't enough draw. But it wasn't bad play by cfred, but Norbo executed the engine better. All right, game 4. We're halfway through, folks, and it's been about an hour. And for the one viewer I have on Twitch, I don't know why you're watching, but I'm grateful. Not actually a Twitch streamer, but with my stream thing, it says go live right next to record, so I went ahead and hit it. I don't think it's actually required. Anyway, let's look at this board. We've got another Way of the Mouse, which the only way to see Way of the Mouse in Dominion Online, oh my gosh, is to right click on it. And it's a swindler, folks. This could get exciting. So we've got ghost towns and cargo ships. Cargo ships is a particularly strong 3. Sheepdogs as reaction. Sea Hag, which is a really strong cursor. Pirate ships, which is not a strong attack. Villages and werewolves. Mining villages. Yeah, so we've got everything except for plus buys here. And multiple gains. So you want to build towards a consistent deck that's hitting 8. You probably want Sea Hag to curse the opponent. Both of them had 3 in their opening. One bought a village. cfred bought a village. Norbo bought a silver. cfred then followed up with a Sea Hag, and Norbo also followed up with Sea Hag. So from their openers, I like the silver buy over the village. Again, the village doesn't hurt your deck, but it doesn't help your deck, and it's the opportunity cost. That being said, they managed to hit 6. Norbo hit 6. I'm sorry, I'm used to seeing cfred up there. Yeah, and that's the benefit of having that silver, is they managed to hit 6, and they bought a gold. I don't love a gold here. I don't think it's particularly worth it. I think that maybe a second Sea Hag or a werewolf or a mining village or something else. But gold is just such consistent payload. Actually, I've said all this. Is there any trashing? There is no trashing. So the Sea Hag really hurts. So I may have considered a second Sea Hag. It will become a dead card at some point because there's no way to trash it. So yeah, it can go either way. Here Norbo just has 3 and buys a warehouse. The warehouse decreases hand size. It filters your deck, but it actually decreases hand size. It's not a fantastic drawing card. So I don't love it. Here cfred buys pirate ship. Pirate ship here is probably not great because there's no trashing, which means that both players are going to kind of be stuck with the coppers. And it would be really nice if the pirate ship thinned the coppers for the opponent. But because Norbo is investing in money and invested in that gold, if the pirate ship hits the gold, and an action or a curse or something, that's going to be the best pirate ship have you ever seen. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's one of those classic, that's the best pirate I've ever heard of. If it hits the gold, that's going to really set Norbo back. Both players are now seeing their decks pretty clogged. Maybe I was a bit overzealous with the engine estimation here when there's no trashing. It seems like to make it work, you would want a few ghost towns. Ooh, we got a swindler play, folks. And it took away one of Norbo's coppers and got a curse. You would want a few ghost towns, several villages, and lots of werewolves. And maybe a few warehouses to filter to where you get those villages first. But this is turning into a bit of a slugfest, especially with the swindler. So this is anybody's game. I'm not seeing a clear. Oh, this is good for cfred. I'm not seeing a clear. Interesting. So all of those good cards are here. He might consider triggering the shuffle. Yeah, he might think about that before he actually does it, but I'm okay with it. He's getting good cycling through his deck. Or she. You'll notice they have no money, but that's okay. They're severely cursing um, the opponent, Norbo, and their pirate ship didn't trash any money, but it did force the Sea Hag away, which means it's unlikely that they will take the last curse, unless... Ooh, Norbo got the... Oh, okay. So Norbo chose to not trigger the shuffle and played the werewolf as a swindler, which trashed a cargo ship, which is going to force cfred to get another 3. Most of these 3s are pretty good. They're all pretty good. So maybe a silver is the least good, but they're all pretty good. So honestly, yeah, there's not... It doesn't probably feel great for Norbo right now. That's pretty funny. Swindlers. I've got them on my ban list myself. But they gave them a sheepdog. Sheepdog's not terrible. Would have been really good in the early game when they were constantly giving each other cards. But now if there's ever a swindler played, well, the sheepdog is in view. It's going to be a free draw 2 cards. cfred buys a mining village. I think that's okay, but they probably really want to add some draw. Here Norbo drew with the werewolf. Plays the werewolf on the knight and forces 2 discards on top. So cfred here really wants to trigger the draw. Oh, wait. Oh, there was still a curse left. My apologies. Then yes, definitely wanted to give the last curse. And also hexes them to take a copper onto their deck. Yeah, wow. And Norbo got hit with 8 curses. That was well done by cfred. It was well done by cfred. It was a combination of good swindlers, good sea hags, and the pirate ship not actually having any money, but able to knock out that sea hag for just a second. Yeah, it's funny for him. cfred here, I'd expect the pirate ship to be played. Oh, plays this sheepdog as a swindler, and that's pretty friendly. That's a pretty friendly swindler. All right, so gets a mining village. Yeah, these players really want to hit 5 to add the draw. Oh, they trashed a 5. That's going to be a duchy, I'd imagine. The sea hag here trashed a 5. Yep, that is a duchy. And is a build by gold. Okay, so Norbo is going more the gold route. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I like the villages from cfred. They just need to add payload. They need to add draw again, and they need to add another pirate ship, because why not? You know, eventually, if you play in those pirate ships more than once every shuffle, they could be worth some money. And Norbo's deck is pretty bad. Oh, here the mining village causes Norbo to trash a werewolf, which gives them a duchy, and then trash a copper, which gains them a copper. And 5, I would hope this is a werewolf. And it is a werewolf, and they get to play their ghost town. That was a good turn by cfred. cfred's in a slightly better position here than Norbo, in my estimation. Norbo's able to draw into the werewolf, which allows them to hit 5, which could be another werewolf. And it is. I think adding draw is key. This is 4 from cfred. I'd love to see a pirate ship here. Oh, it could be more because of the ghost town. My apologies. And we'll mining village as a swindler and trash a duchy into another duchy. Look at that. And the 6 is a gold. Okay, I don't mind it, but you're not going to... I don't know. It's okay. Here I'd expect them to play a pirate ship, maybe as a swindler from what they've done previously, although they would be completely justified as playing it as a pirate ship. At this point it's a bit late, and they're not adding a second, so Norbo has a pass turn. The pirate ship is a pirate ship, and they hit the gold, ladies and gentlemen. They hit the gold. Amazing. Wow, what a world. And, yep, that's going to be a pass. And then that doesn't really hurt Norbo, except for the fact that Warehouse is also going to make them discard a card, so they'll only have 2 left. Ladies and gentlemen, what a pirate ship hit. I really think cfred should add another one. Oh, yes, of course. Plays the Warehouse as a swindler, trashes a mining village. I would expect them to give them a Sea Hag. The Sea Hag is worthless. Gives them a Bureaucrat. Bureaucrat, I mean, it's technically not worthless, but I'm sure it feels just as worthless. This I would expect to be Village Village. Sea Hag as a Swindler. Might consider going double Swindler and buying a pirate ship. I don't know. I just keep rooting for the pirate ship. But now they could have 5 if they double Swindler. Ooh, trash the gold into a gold. Trashes a village into a what? This is where 3 is awkward. Gives them a sheepdog. Still not terrible. 5 could be werewolf, and it is werewolf. I do like the draw additions. Draw is good. Here I'd expect Norbo to play the werewolf as a werewolf. Plays it as a swindler. Trashes a village. Gives them a sheepdog. Can react with the sheepdog. Gets 2 extra cards. Again, those sheepdogs are not terrible when everyone's going to swindle things to death. Interesting. Norbo decides to buy a duchy. I guess they're worried about piles a little bit. Here I'd expect the werewolf to be played before the mining village. Okay, before this mining village, because they might want to play the mining village as a swindler. 3, 4, 5. Yep, if they double swindler here, then they can buy a province. That looks really good for cfred. Now they're pushing their luck again. Oh, they decided to trash it instead of playing it as a swindler. They decide to trash it again. They've got plenty of money for yeah. They've already got enough money for a province, so that is completely superfluous. And trash a curse into a copper. That's friendly. But they have 9. And they buy a province. All right. Things are looking decent for cfred. It's a matter of can they close out the game at this point. Trashes a bureaucrat into a sea hag. Yeah, there you go. That's the junky card that they want to give your opponent. And buys a mining village. All right, so cfred could be considering. Well, I'm assuming they're going to play the werewolf in his human form. cfred might be considering how can I lower these piles. And sure, buying mining villages definitely does that. And with the swindler, just trashed a copper into a copper. Might consider doing the same here. Okay, decides to draw on. Yep, well, that's what Sea Hag's going to be a swindler. Trashed a mining village. Can give them another mining village. Again, just keep lowering those piles. Yeah, nice. I like that play from cfred. That's good. And then they have 5, so they bought in werewolf. I like werewolves in general. I'm worried about these piles a little bit. Norbo here probably is going to prefer a duchy if they can buy it, but they don't have enough. So they buy an estate. Okay, I saw that green card fly from there. Yeah, this looks like a good draw from cfred. 2, 4, 6. I'd play the sheepdog first. Okay. They've got enough if they play these all as swindlers to buy a province. That seems really good. They do not need to trash. Okay. 4. If they play 2 of these cards as swindlers, okay, there's 1 as a swindler. Trash to warehouse. Probably just want to give them, I don't know. I don't mind the sheepdogs. Like, surprisingly, these opponents have been helping each other out by making sure they have enough draw, which is kind of funny. But yeah, trash an estate to an estate, that's fine. And now his 8 buys province. Well done by cfred. This game looks like it's going to cfred. We'll see what Norbo's turn can do. Played war and had to trash a sea hag, which is kind of friendly at this point. Norbo had to trash a sea hag. All right. Played a mining village and trashed it. Is going to get enough for a province, it looks like. My apologies for the client moving a little slow. And takes diluted. Diluted means that you can't buy actions. Oh, pardon me. The start of your buy phase, return this and you can't buy actions, but that's okay. I'm sure cfred would rather pay for a province if they can get it, and might be willing to settle for a duchy. So they have 3, 4, 5. It's enough for a duchy if they play the sea hag as a swindler or the sheepdog as a swindler. Yep. And trash to warehouse. Might give them another sheepdog, which will allow Norbo to react with the sheepdogs. The sheepdogs are not as harmful. Gives them a warehouse. Yeah, I actually like that better. I think warehouse is worse for the opponent's deck than a sheepdog. But is able to buy a duchy, which keeps them at a comfortable lead, or at least a 2-turn lead, because no one has any additional buys. cfred requested an undo. I'm not entirely sure what for. But we shall see. As soon as the client gets back to normal. Okay, I'm not sure what the undo was. Oh, they reacted with a sheepdog. Okay, and we're able to get rid of a curse and copper as well. Pirate shipped an estate into an estate. Oh, they werewolfed in their night phase as a swindler. That's kind of funny. So, but they've trashed a province into a province, which is not particularly useful. I doubt the provinces are going to pile here, but they could. Norbo buys another duchy. We'll see what this card is. So, yep, that's a province in hand by cfred, which looks good. Nicely done. Norbo here can either choose to draw and will. Oh, no, plays it as a swindler to trash a werewolf and then gain a werewolf because duchies. And cfred has it in hand. All they have to do is trash the 2 mining villages and buy a werewolf, or trash 1 mining village and buy a mining village. We'll see if they take the victory. They might decide to buy a duchy here, which is fine, but it just extends the game. They have the victory on the board. And yeah, okay, they buy the werewolf. And the game is over. Score 1 for cfred. The score is now 1-3, cfred to Norbo. All right, yeah. So that was more of a slog than I was expecting, because there was such little trashing, and the swindlers were great entertainment. It was a very entertaining game. cfred's deck was just a little bit better. I'm not entirely sure why. It just ended up being a little bit better. Again, that pirate ship hitting into the that pirate ship hitting the gold was amazing. What a play! All right, so entertaining game. Let's look at this kingdom. The fountain is, if you have a 10 coppers, it's worth 15 points. Triumphant's Arch is 3 victory points for the action you have the second most common of 3 points per copy of the second most common action. And then in the Kingdom tab, we've got trashing with Governor, trashing with Butcher. Neither of those are particularly good at trashing. Silk Merchant, which is a really strong card, particularly in the early game. Oh, good trashing with Ratcatcher. So finally we get a game with good trashing. The only draw is from Silk Merchant, Sightly, and Governor, which also benefits your opponent unless you can force them to discard, but there's nothing that forces to discard. Yeah, this looks like just an okay board. So yeah, let's see how the players play it. Nothing, yeah. So cfred's thinking is complex. I agree. There's nothing that really jumps out. And with a 2-5 split, that's not bad. It's nice to be able to get the rat catcher. I don't think the market square is particularly good. So might consider a tracker or a rat catcher with 3. I don't think a silver here is particularly what you want. So, okay, chooses to take the market square. If that's the case, I would expect them to buy a butcher pretty early so they can trigger the market square. I'm not sure. I'm not sure entirely what they're going for with the Norbo with the market square. cfred uses his 5 on governor, which is good. It's basically the only draw, and it's a good draw, but it just lets your opponent draw a card. Also can be used to gain money, so that's cool. With 4 here, I wouldn't mind a Silk Merchant or a Plaza's okay. So, but what has Norbo done in their opening? They've added 0 economy, so they're looking at another 3-4 split. Their second time around. cfred also bought a Plaza, which didn't add any economy either. So it looks like they're taking it a little bit slow. They're there at least. cfred was able to get the rat catcher down. The governor adds economy because it expands hand size. So yeah, so you'll notice in the previous turn Norbo had 4. Now they have they may have had yeah. Now they have 3. That's the problem when you don't add any economy in the opening. You're not going to hit 5. And they probably wanted to. So it looks like cfred's going to take care of the economy for both of them. That's fine. And buys a Silk Merchant. That's good. Silk Merchant is really good. For those of you watching on Twitch, which might be one of you, and if you're watching this commentary, I highly recommend Wandering Winter's Dominion Homework on Silk Merchant. It's very good. Norbo buys another Plaza. This is okay, but you typically want to add your terminals before you add your cantrips, because what are you plazaing for? Like, you're not increasing hand size. You haven't purchased any draw yet. So what is it really doing for you? cfred was able to rat catcher an estate and got a gold from it. Yep, that's good. Bought another rat catcher. Norbo reacts with the market squares to get a couple more golds. This is all good. This is all good. Both of them would really, they're clearly playing big money. Both of them would really benefit from adding some draw, which looks like is either going to be in Silk Merchants or Governors. Governors, of course, help your opponent. Silk Merchants provide an extra buy, which in addition to the pouch is going to be very useful. I'm a little bit surprised by all these rat catcher purchases by cfred. They're okay, but it's going to be enough soon. It's going to be enough soon. But here Norbo is able to hit 5 thanks to drawing that gold and buys a governor, and it's about to take off seriously as both players start to help each other draw basically. Here cfred hit 4. I would expect them to buy a Silk Merchant. They might consider buying a Plaza because I think they only have 1, but I personally like the Silk Merchant better. Norbo hit 6. They probably want more draw. Yep, good. Way to take the governor over the maximum efficiency gold. Butcher is a really good card. It's a really weird one, but it's actually a very good card when you trash cards from the same cost and a different cost. So if you trash, say, a silver into a market square, you get to switch cost of your deck and you get to add 2 coffers. Or say trash an estate into a rat catcher. You've turned a bad card into a cantrip and you've added 2 coffers. So Butcher is sneakily very good. In addition, once you built up some of these coffers, or if you had other ways to it, which you can't do, well, except for Silk Merchants, if you built up these coffers, you could eventually be trashing things like a silver into a province. So it's a sneaky good card. Get some rat catchers down, has a nice draw because of those Silk Merchants. and lots of buys. With all these extra buys, Fountain is definitely in play. You want to buy Fountain on your last turn that you're going for victory, and keep in mind how many coppers you have. But there's definitely going to be plenty of buys here, and it could come down to the player that remembers that Fountain is in play. This is good. This is good here. So, personally, if I'm cfred, I'm thinking Province or Silk Merchant. Okay. But they're buying rat catchers and market squares. They bought 4 rat catchers and 2 market squares. I'm surprised by that, I'll be honest. Norbo's adding some money. They've got 6 and 2 buys plus a copper. So, okay. Why? I'm not entirely sure what cfred is thinking. But now Norbo is also going for market squares. Again, these market squares are really good for all the buys that they give. If you line them up with your silk merchants, you are going to be able to get 10 buys for fountains, even if you trash every single copper known to man. So, or in your starting deck. That was a bit of an exaggeration. But I don't get the point of the rat catchers. That one's lost on me. So anyway, we're waiting on Norbo. I'm just not sure what the rat catchers do for you. Not sure what they do for you. Market squares again will let you get to fountain. Well, he could be thinking that their rat catcher is going to be triumphal arch points. Yes, it's it's just an entertaining game. It's an entertaining game. So yeah, no, I'm excited to see which one of these players, if not both, really think about fountain points. And we should note that cfred does have a lot of points because of the triumphant arch, which is probably why he's taking, or she is taking, so many rat catchers and market squares. I might be a little bit hasty there, so my apologies to cfred if you're watching this. It would have been nice to buy that last market square, I'm sure, because that would have been 3 points for you. But now there's 2 piles empty. And instead it was 3 points for Norbo. Actually, the governor might have been 3 points. They might have more market squares than governors. But now there's 2 piles empty. And probably thinking Silk Merchant here. Okay, I don't mind Governor. You're definitely thinking draw, which I like. Silk Merchant I just like a little better because, again, of those plus buys for the fountains. But you need draw, so that's good. All right. Norbo's got a province in hand should they want it. They can even discard a silver if they want to. Not that I would personally recommend it. I mean, maybe. I don't know. It depends on what they're targeting. They've got 4 buys. And if they keep the silver, then they've got 11. If they, with a possibility of 13, they do trash it, or discard it, not trash it, pardon me. And they just take a province at face value. I like that. Take the lead because of it. Fair enough. All right, cfred looks like they're going to have a good turn with decent draw with Plaza, Silk Merchant, Market Square to start off with. They've already got a golden pouch in hand. Honestly, it's a very interesting game. Very interesting, very entertaining game. Checking my internet to make sure I still have it. Okay, looks like I do. We're waiting on cfred. We're waiting on cfred. Let me see if I got a response to that. All right, I'm going to try refreshing the screen, refreshing the client. Norbo is also looking for cfred. I hope everything is okay with cfred, but I apologize, folks, for the delay of game. We will give this a second. Yeah, it's been a pretty balanced game so far. I mean, it does really feel like it's going to come down to who gets. I mean, whose deck is a bit more consistent. Oh, here we go. We've got cfred. He's back, folks. All right. Plays the Plaza. Probably going to discard the Copper. Plays the Silk Merchant. Plays the Market Square. See what else we get. Still moving a little slowly. Huh. Oh, there we go. All right, this looks good. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12. Definitely a province, I would imagine. Maybe a Silk Merchant. Oh man, this commentating for an entire match. I've only commentated for a half match. My throat is getting really tired. Yep, but there you go. There's a province Silk Merchant. I like it. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. Yeah, I like it. All right. Ratcatcher to trash a copper maybe reacts with 2 market squares. That's good. I'm kind of asking myself, is that good? Is that good? Yeah, probably, but Yeah, it is okay. I'm sure. It definitely helps the money density of their deck. But at this point, there's been 11 golds dished out. So they probably have 6 or 5 of them. And it would have been probably nice to just draw 2 more cards this turn. But they are still able to get a province, and they buy a copper. Nice. I wonder if they're thinking about the fountain. I don't think cfred is thinking about the fountain as he trashes a copper. But that's okay. I would expect the rat catcher to be played, and then the governor to be played, and then we'll see what happens. Looks like they're in line to get a province this turn. I expect the rat catcher to be played here. Interesting. If they had drawn a 3rd gold, it would have been really intriguing for them to trash a gold into a province. But that's not what happened. They trash an estate. Okay. Into a silk merchant. Okay. I don't mind it. But, yeah, here I don't probably use a villager. I just go ahead and take the 8 and buy a province. And that's what they do. Yeah, the estate trashing, I don't hate it, but um, it's just one of those things. It forces interesting. Okay, so they decide to buy a governor, which I think did not raise their point value, so that is not the second most action card. Here, Norbo has lots of money and a good amount of buys. I might actually expect this to be a province of 3 coppers. Yeah, nice. I like how Norbo's thinking. Norbo's definitely come away with the leg up, in my estimation. cfred lost a lot of tempo by not buying that province there. I don't necessarily think it's wrong, because governors are good for this type of deck. But when you're losing governors, the fact that it benefits your opponents is something you don't want to do, because they have more green than you. And so benefiting them, especially by giving them an extra card, is pretty tough. And so if he's planning on using the governor for its convert golds into province ability, that's very valid. Um, but I'm sure he would love some more golds, or she would love some more golds to make that happen. Alright, so there was a silk merchant, 2nd gold in hand. That's look good. Expect the market square to be played. Expect a silk merchant to be played. And they've got the 3 golds in hand, so now he has to think, is there a governor in my last 3 cards? Because if there are, then I could convert a gold into a province. Yep, unfortunately there's not, and unfortunately they don't have enough for a double province, which is too bad. Maybe they should have counted and considered playing on. I don't like that, or I don't love it, because this is a lot of their good cards, and this is not going to be a good shuffle. So it's a kind of a tough position there, unfortunately. But this could be province gold. Double silk merchant. Okay. Go on. Triple beggar. Okay. Double silk merchant, triple beggar. I I don't mind the beggars, I guess, because you'll know that if you play them 3 times, you're going, and I know that he has a copper. Look, I see it. So if you know that you're going to play them 3 times, you're going to get the fountain points. But I don't know. Normal is just going to play this straight up and buy a province. They might consider buying a copper. And they do. I did not see their point totals go up, so they do not yet have 10 coppers. Here I'd expect to see the rat catcher. Okay, yeah, sure. And then the market square, and then a rat catcher. Plaza's good. Plaza's good. And now we're starting to use the silk merchants. Oh, governor's good. Again, it's going to help the opponent as well. Norbo looks to have a good hand so far if they use the governor for draw. And they might strongly consider using the governor as a remodel and trash a gold into a province. I think that's be a really strong play right now from cfred. Now the question is, can they do that and still eventually get up to enough money to buy double province and in the game? So they do trash the gold into province. I like it. So they have 10, 13, and with the beggars is 16. Holy cow! Well played by cfred. He actually has the win in hand if he sees it, or she. Wow. I was thinking they'd been behind this entire game, but the win is in hand, folks. This is really good. So they've got to play the beggar, use all their coffers. I mean, they can do whatever they want before that, but they do have to play the beggar. So we'll see if they see it. Again, the win is in hand. Let me double check my own math. So 3 golds is 9, a pouch is 10, 3 coppers is 13, and 3 coppers makes 16. And there are more than 2 buys, so I think cfred might see it. I think he may see it. All right, he's playing his money. He's got 16, and boom goes the dynamite catchphrase. You heard it here first, but anyway, that was well played by cfred. Amazing game. Man, that was a good one. That was a really good one. Back and forth. cfred has now won the last 2. They both had 9 coppers. That's funny. cfred has now won the last 2, which means he's 2-3 in the series. And this is the final game of the match. Yeah, it was a really good last turn by cfred. So far, the person who has started has won every game. Yeah, that's good. That was really good by cfred. I didn't see that come together, but those beggar plays, those beggar buys were really good. Served him or her very well. All right, here we go for the last game of the match between cfred and Norbo in Division H24, Season 41. All right, so we've got Tower, which rewards 1 victory point for every empty supply pile. We've got Potions for both Scrying Pool and Alchemist. Scrying Pool is particularly good if you can trash, because it reveals it could potentially draw your entire deck if your entire deck is actions. We've got a little bit of trashing from Spice Merchant, but not a ton of great trashing. Alchemist is a very strong card because it's a lab that you can always make top deck yourself, top deck, and so it can make a lot of consistency if there's enough time for it. And with the witch on the board, there probably is enough time for it. So, yeah, this is an interesting one. It's not very straightforward, but there is draw, there are villages and villa, and nobles, which isn't a great village, but is technically a village. But there's a lot of labs and spice merchant and alchemist. Library probably isn't super needed. But yeah, I like this. This is a good kingdom. cfred opens up and buys a potion. I don't mind that at all. I probably like it over a spice merchant, I think, especially if, yeah, like if my opponent opened with a potion, it feel like it would force me to open with a potion. Now, I do like lackeys over silver here to cycle through the deck to see the potion more often, because you only need 3 coppers with a potion. So I think I probably would have opened with lackeys. So they both open with potion. They're both going to race for those alchemists. Maybe the scrying pools, but probably the alchemist. Yep, cfred here buys a witch. I think potions, not potions. I think that curses are definitely going to slow down the opponent. Here, yeah, I'm shocked. I'm literally shocked by the scrying pool. That probably should have been an alchemist. Yep. Now, cfred might consider the scrying pool because that's all he can afford. I don't love it, I'll be honest, because they're not going to trash the coppers. I assume Norbo will get a witch at some point. It might have still been better to do a lackeys, but I mean, it's hard to waste that potion. I totally understand. Here, Norbo does not hit 5, so buys a spice merchant. I like that. I think that trashing the coppers is going to be very useful. So cfred is able to get their first alchemist, got the witch in hand. Norbo gets to play an alchemist, unfortunately still only hits 4. We'll get a villa here and pass, presumably. cfred gets to give the first witch out and has 5. Could be a second witch, but I doubt it. Might be a spice merchant. I would like a spice merchant buy here, personally. I think that trashing the coppers is going to be really useful, particularly with the scrying pool buy. What did they buy? They bought a second witch. That's okay. It's okay. It's just okay, though. Alchemist to buy here. Norbo's ahead in the Alchemist. Witch does not collide, which is nice, but still only 4. Buys a second potion. I don't love the second potion here at all. I don't know. I don't love the second potion here, especially if there's not multiple buys. There's not except for Spice Merchant and Villa, which they have neither of for cfred. Might turn out okay, though. But that's the 3rd Alchemist for Norbo. And what helps you get to Alchemist is not necessarily having the most potions as much as it is having cycling through your deck quickly. And that's where lackeys would have been really good. And that's where witch is okay. But Spice Merchant is also really good because you're cycling through and trashing at the same time if you use it for +2 cards, +1 action. Norbo here has 3 and buys a silver. That's fine. I think lackeys are severely underutilized, but that's okay. cfred gets a villa. That's okay. Well, it's all just okay. See, this is where it's going to... I mean, what is the second potion doing for cfred? Unfortunately, it's not going to be doing anything for cfred. Norbo is adding silvers, which is okay. Gets to discard that. Yeah, it's going to get a bit of a draw here. Wow, okay, so never mind. cfred manages to draw into both witches and the villa, which is going to give him that extra buy to buy 2 alchemists. Ladies and gentlemen, that's very good. That's very, very good. Those curses are being effective too. It's easier for me to critique, I suppose, the player that's down here. And while I am surprised by the second potion, and obviously it doesn't help here at all, which is kind of what I would expect more often than not, I will say that cfred is in a better position, it looks like, because of the curses. I don't believe cfred has taken a curse yet. Yeah, managed to give 6 to his opponent already. Is at least going to give one more here. And hits 8. Might consider nobles, but takes a province. That's fine. Might have considered a villa there to play the... so if villa forces you back into the action phase and allows you to play the witch to give another curse out, and then probably would have had enough to hit a noble still because it just needed one more coin. The scrying pool considered an attack? It is considered an attack. Buys another scrying pool. Again, these are just going to be cantrips that do slightly things. They're potentially much more powerful, but it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, here Norbo is able to get to a nobles. 4 here isn't great. I would expect it to be a villa buy. It's a spice merchant buy. Feels a little late for that, but I still like it. I mean, you still have those coppers to trash, so that's nice. The curses are doing work on Norbo. And there's going to take another one here. It can't afford a villa. So it does take an alchemist. cfred is dominating the alchemist split. It's dominating the curses split. We're going to have 2 piles out shortly. I'm a little surprised, but I'm not too surprised by the +2 buying power, +1 buy from Spice Merchant instead of drawing on. It's a safer option because you can buy a villa, but it's a big deck, so cycling doesn't necessarily help a lot. That was a really good draw from Scrying Pool. That's probably the best this deck is ever going to get. 3 cards, but we'll watch. We'll watch here. I'll let you know, folks. Put 2 cards into their hand. This is almost going to draw the entire deck, if not draw the entire deck. I would Spice Merchant here, trash a copper. The curses are now gone. Either one is understandable. Maybe they know what that last card is. It's an estate. I knew what that last card was. So yeah, it's best not to have that. Yeah, this is looking really good for cfred. Plays the witch just for fun. Definitely wants to buy that last alchemist. Could consider buying a nobles. Might consider buying a scrying pool and a villa. Oh, there's only one more buy. I would strongly consider a nobles over the scrying pool myself. I would understand the scrying pool buy. I would also understand a villa buy. But you'll notice that there are a couple things. One is that when all the curses left, Norbo got a lot more points. That's because the tower gives you points for all of the non-victory cards, and curse is not a victory card. And so Norbo, I think, has 9 curses, and so they're -1 point, but also +1 point, and so they're back to not really hurting the deck. So they have 2 points from nobles, 3 points from their estates, which is 5, and I would suppose that they have 4 alchemists. Here they were able to buy and gain a villa, and I think that's all they did. Looks like another good draw from cfred. But again, it really helps when you have 6 alchemists. So yeah, these curses are not as bad with tower. They're still -1 point, but they're just hurting Norbo's big money deck so badly. So badly. Yeah. So cfred's in a commanding position here. It's kind of up to Norbo to see if they can steal a win. If I were them, I would strongly consider trying to pile out the villas as soon as now. Yeah, Norbo's understanding the more or less dire position that they are in. They have only 7 money, so I guess they can't pile out. Oh, sorry, 8, 9, 10 money. So they could buy 2, 3 villas if they wanted. It's definitely the fastest way to end this game is to start buying villas. Because again, you buy them and then you get to add the money and keep buying. Spice Merchant here to trash a copper, so that's 4. 5 is 9, 10, 11. Buy 3 villas. Well, 2 villas, for 2 more coins, that's 13. And then they have enough for a 3rd villa. Choosing not to trash a copper here, which I don't necessarily agree with. But I do agree with buying those villas for sure. For sure. For sure. Yeah, buy another villa. And then while you're at it, buy another villa. I kill myself. I am the best commentator the world has ever seen. Oh, okay. But chooses to buy a scrying pool, 2 scrying pools. Okay, sure. I mean, they've got the game pretty well in hand. If they pile out the scrying pools, which they can't do next turn because they only have 2 potions, or they pile out the villas, which they can do next turn because they could have done it this turn, or excuse me, they could have bought 3 this turn. They have the win this hand, assuming they draw, which seems likely, not guaranteed. So far, okay. Yeah, they've still only drawn a max of 3 with their scrying pool, but that's okay. It's enough draw to get through the deck. Oh, there was another 3. And all the villas. And then the witches. And then again, Spice Merchant to trash a copper for +2 coins and +2 buys. Would be really strong. Or +1 buy, +2 coin and +1 buy. Apologies. But they have the win in hand. It's a matter of do they see it? They've got to see it. I'm assuming. I'm sure cfred sees it. They don't even need to trash the copper if they don't want. Because they've got 12 money in hand. And they're going to add 2 money by doing that. And there's the first villa. And they go ahead and trash it for +2 buys. They've clicked out of play treasures. There's the second villa. And there's the third villa. cfred jumps to 22 points because he has 7 of the 10 villas. Buys a scrying pool just for good measure. And that is the 6th game and the 3rd win for cfred. Well played. Well played. Had good deck control. Excellent drawing. The scrying pools did very well. Yeah, no kidding. Really turned it around. So that's going to conclude my commentary for the H24 match between Norbo and cfred. I'm Zwade again from also that division. But thanks everyone for watching. Hope this was mildly useful and or entertaining. Certainly the games have been entertaining from 2 well-matched competitors who split the series 3-3. Good luck to everyone who's watching in their own Dominion League games. And signing off for now. Pound it, noggin. No, I'm just kidding.